to our listeners, our guests are just going to go ahead to introduce themselves. They're going to tell us briefly your name and then what you do before we kick into why we're here today.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Dami. Damilola Oluwayoshi. I work as a project communications officer at a non-governmental organization, also a tech hub. So basically, that's what I do. Project communications.
My name is Jeremiah George, also known as Zen. I am a cocktails mixologist, a bar and restaurant consultant. I'm lead bartender at Boardroom Apartment Rooftop, and I'm a member of the Culinary Association Practitioners of Nigeria and mixology instructor at Gigo's Culinary Place. So yes, that's what I do.
Good afternoon. My name is Laura Choma Namdi. I'm a lawyer and I'm currently on my NYSC program. And I'm also a content writer. I also dabble into content creating aside from content writing. So nice to meet you and thank you to the organizers for having me.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Uswagu Chukudi. I work at Broker Practice. I'm a lawyer in equity. She's a lawyer, I'm a lawyer in equity. I know she knows what it means. I'm also doing my youth service. I'm the co-founder of Chuks and Kenneth Foundation. It's a non-governmental organization that's geared towards elevating poverty and enlightening young people.
For our listeners, you can see that we have hot brains in the house. People are not here to joke. All right, back to why we're here. We're here to discuss youth and EndSars today. Where did the spirit go? So before the election and everything, we had a previous podcast where we talked about tribalism. You can decide to check that out later in your spare time if you've not seen the video. All right, so I'm going to just dive straight into our questions for my guests. My first question is going to go to Laura. So Laura, I want to ask you, what was notable about the 2020 EndSars protests? What would you consider to be its success?
I would say unity. It was very notable amongst Nigerians. It was sort of like a wake-up call. Nigerians were tired of everything that was happening, especially police brutality, which was like the crux of the whole matter. Nigerians were tired, youths came out. I would say unity for once in a very long time. I think we understood what unity meant as a people, as a nation, and we came out en masse to enforce that. And unfortunately, I would say that we didn't really get what we wanted. I would say we didn't really get what we wanted because it was sort of like a show of strength, a show of unity, a show of power, a show of togetherness, a show of one voice, one mind, one spirit to push those at the helm of affairs to do the biddings of the citizens, which is what a democratic society is meant to be. But I do not think we succeeded. I feel like probably in a working system or a country or a nation that really understands what democracy means, what we did would have moved a lot. Like it shook a lot of people, it shook the whole world. Like everybody was aware of what was going on in Nigeria. And that act alone should have been able to give us what we wanted, what we have wanted for so many years. But I wouldn't really, I'd say if it were to be a success, it would be that we saw that we are capable of being united.
All right. I'm going to ask Jerry. Jerry, do you have any other thing aside what Laura has mentioned? Do you think there is any other thing you could note aside the unity? Is there any other thing you'd like to add to what she has mentioned?
So yeah, I'm just going to buttress what she said and disagree with something else she said as well regarding the whole thing. Yes, unity was one of the major highlights of the NSAS movement or protests, if you want to call them that. Um, but was it a success? I would say it was to an extent. It wasn't what we really wanted or what most people would consider successes by their terms of or by their standards of judging successes. But I would call it a success in the sense that the old guard stood up, they took note that things were not going to be the same any longer. I would also call it a success because I would reference the American slave abolitionist movement or the Black Lives Emancipation movement in the US of A. I think they actually started that whole thing in 1831, thereabouts, and up until 2020, we're still having Black Lives Matter. You understand? So, have there been growth? Have there been changes? Have there been successes recorded? Yes. With the EndSars movement, have there been successes recorded? Yes. It was so powerful that the politicians had to get the military in to kill you because they saw a movement that, oh, this is not never been seen before. Like, this is a movement. If I'm going to quote from recent pop culture, this is a town hall, different. You understand? It's something very different from what they were used to. And that scared them a lot. So yes, was it success? By some standards, yes, it was. Was it what we wanted? No, but the fight is far from over.
Was that why you said so?
Yes, that was why. So, because she said it wasn't a success, and I'm saying
Okay.
it's a success. But the most unifying or the most notable thing about it was unity. Like,
I totally understand what you meant, but I think Laura was trying to compare then to now. I think that was why, if I'm correct, Laura, I think that was why she said she wouldn't count it like totally as like, but she said unfortunately, even though there was unity then and all of that, like she's comparing then to now. Am I correct, Laura?
Yes.
If I'm
Yes.
not, correct me.
No, I think you're correct.
Thank you very much to our guests that have spoken so far. So my next question is going to go to Truth. What hiccups did you notice then? And do you think the ones you noticed then are similar to the ones that happened in this recently conducted election?
I would not say hiccups per se. They're setbacks, certainly. There will certainly be setbacks. So if I was to analyze the setbacks, the first thing was that it was a trend. Most people that joined the trend did not have understanding or full perspective of the trend. And once your foundation is faulty, there's always going to be issues with the building. I think engineers would agree with me on that. That being said, then we also we were not seeing the bigger picture. There's always a bigger picture. I speak from the perspective of we because we're the youths, we're the people that started the movement. We were not seeing the bigger picture. What was the bigger picture? The bigger picture was not just to change power in Nigeria, right? The bigger picture was to change the whole system. And changing the whole system does not exclude the youths of the system, right? Permit me to quote Peter Obi. He posted something on Twitter. He said beavers. He rejigged the meaning of beavers. And he talked about something about basic values, right? For what you ask for you to ask for something from another person, you must be willing to give that same thing if you also had it. We ask for change, we ask for discipline, we ask for competence, we ask for a lot of things from our leaders. But we, as the youths, are we willing to effect that change in our own lives? Yeah. I'm not saying that most of the people that went to the EndSars process or participated in it did not have it, but people had it, but it was not most of them. For some people, it was just a trend. I mean, you see people that went there to go and party. They're partying in the midst of wanton corruption. They're partying in the midst of like it's blatant. The impetus of our leaders is quite blatant. You know that they're not hiding it. They're not sugarcoating it, right? So our values, that was one of the setbacks. I said something again. Then our unity was fragile. Our unity in our nation has always been fragile, and the reason why is this: our government has been preaching religious or tribal tolerance, and there's a flaw with that concept. Tolerance gets to a point where you can no longer tolerate. There's always a breaking point for tolerance. What should have been preached is tribal understanding. If you understand, it's because of understanding that a madman will attack you and you will not attack that madman because you know that the person is mad. You know, okay. But if it was a normal person, right, that attacked you as a guy, as anybody at all, you'd want to like get a sense of retribution. But because he's a mad person, you'd be like, okay, this person is mad, so I'll just pack my things and leave. So there was the absence of understanding, tribal understanding, and it's because of these things that when it was time for us to dance, when it was time for us to walk the walk, right? Obviously, when you put something under stress, the flaws show. And that was what happened in these elections and every other thing. Our flaws as youths that were trying to get a better Nigeria became manifest, and they expanded as in every stressful situation. But I'd like to say something, right? EndSars was an absolute success. On this basis, I think I've been able to address the question.
For a minute there, I thought he was going to say, I think I'm able to convince you reasonable and unreasonable.
Dami, what would you like to see?
If we're talking about the EndSars protest, right? For me, I would say it was a huge success. I mean, you can see the outcome. People got killed. People got intimidated by the government. And you know, the list goes on. But for me, I would say that it was a success because the EndSars protest is one of the greatest movements that's ever happened in Nigeria. And, you know, as our previous speakers have said, you could see the unity, you could see the drive for change. At that point, people were not saying, oh, I'm Hausa, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo, I'm this thing, you know, because what was happening then, I think it even went beyond police brutality. It went beyond, you know, all the other things that we thought was supposed to, you know, it was tagged like EndSars, right? But before we knew it, people started talking about corruption. Oh, why are senators' salaries so high? Why is this not functioning? Why is that not functioning? So for me, I would say definitely it was a huge success. And the government, they were intimidated about it, definitely. And I was proud of this generation, you know, for what we're able to achieve through that movement. And I think it's something that will not be forgotten in a very short while. Now you might say, oh, the EndSars spirit is somewhere, it has gone. I feel like the spirit is still very much within the youth, but it has just been intimidated so much that people are scared to stand up for what is right and, you know, what have you. So that's what I'll have to say about that.
So, Jerry, before I come back to you, our senior creative partner has something to say. So I would like us to listen to what he has to say.
That title is even too much. It's too long. I'm Francis. All right. Quickly, I will just say everyone actually pointed out some very beautiful patterns that we noticed recently. From 2020's EndSars, there were very powerful patterns. As someone has mentioned, tribalism, violence, intimidation. I also don't want us to get carried away and forget the role of the financial instrument the government uses to clamp down on these protests. The CBN, If you remember closely, when the youth were trying to, organize and get funding for all these movements, what happened? It was clamped down. So, of course, one of the notable things that you may want to applaud the youth for, even if we were not very organized or united, we can remember that the youths were very, very sophisticated in technology, and recovery was a very powerful strategy because the youths were young, there was vigor. So each time they were hit in one side, they recovered quickly, they bounced to cryptocurrency to fund these whole movements. Although, if you ask me for the hiccups, was it a success? Yes, in terms of success, because milestones. Jerry already pointed the whole backlog. If you look at the whole timeline of Black Lives Matter and how the blacks in America have tried to have a political expression in America, it takes 100 years, 200 years sometimes to defeat some of these powers. So, for looking at the protest culture in Nigeria, it's still very young. The protest culture is still, most of our parents outsourced our protests to singers, to writers. Our parents were not part of the movement. We just outsourced it. So if you now find youths taking the headline, confronting these issues and actually making a very powerful statement at that time, 2020, with all they had, I think the milestone was a very successful one actually. However, like Chooks mentioned, foundation was a bit faulty because the movement lacked knowledge. There was sophistication. The youths were actually more resourceful, more equipped than the people they were fighting, but there was lack of knowledge. And knowledge was a very quick way to defeat the movement. People didn't know, for example, you said something about tribal understanding. People didn't even know why, if we drop a little Igbo Yoruba, the whole movement gets scattered. People refused to understand that there needs to be like in knowledge, the history. We didn't even know what we were fighting. We're not knowledgeable about the forces. Some of these forces, most of these do not even know the kind of tribal tensions that have happened before. So you can prepare for them. So if we are all of us here, and I think we are very multi-ethnic right now on this podcast, but if we drop a little Magi and okra of what's it called? Of Igbo Yoruba Hausa stuff, are we going to be, startled by that? So the youths were not informed. If you remember Sun Tzu, I think Sun Tzu in his treatise on strategy said, if you don't know your enemy and you don't know yourself, or you know yourself, for every battle you lose. For every victory again you lose, because the youths were equipped, but there was no knowledge about history, knowledge to know that these people that were fighting against, one way or the other, they will come and throw ethnicity in our midst and scatter everything. So yeah, I think EndSars was a success. I think the hiccups are similar, and they are still even very similar. And if you notice, there's still tribal tensions. The CBN is still playing a very huge role in clamping down because, of course, what does the government have to use? If there was enough cash around, I'm sure people would have clarity in voting, and some of this tension will not have been manipulated into violence ends. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for all of that. Jerry, you had something to say.
So Francis is practically said most of what I wanted to highlight, in the sense that the tools this old guard have been using are still what they are using. Still ethnicity, still tribalism, still financial warfare to an extent. I mean, it's still the same thing pretty much that they're still doing and will continue doing. The more evolved and woke the world gets, the more evolved and woke they will be with their tools and weapons of manipulation. So there were a lot of similarities between the whole EndSars movement and how it ended, or no, how it was stalled, because I don't think it has ended, and how it was stalled with how the elections too were also disrupted. So I just hope that people would read more, because it always pains me when people do not have knowledge, like Francis highlighted, about their environment and their history and what goes on. And the truth is, if you do not address history, it's just bound to repeat itself. A classic example was a few days ago on Twitter. Some people, the whole tribal thing got so heated on Twitter. I had to I think it was on Sunday or Saturday. and I had to like just stay off for a bit. Like I had to turn off my Twitter for like 2 days just so that I could be sane for a bit because it was driving me insane. And then people were making reference to the Rwandan genocide. And I'm like, are you people all right? Like, they had to address it in Rwanda. Like, they have, like, there's a whole tourist movement around the whole genocide thing in Rwanda. Like, they had to address it because that's the only way they can move forward. Now, they don't even mention tribes. Like, you dare not go there and mention Tutsis and Tutsis. Like, they don't mention it any longer. They just mention Rwandans. And I think until Nigeria, and that's a country with just two ethnic groups. Nigeria has a lot, 300 or 256 thereabouts. And so if you keep, I think part of the problem has always been the financial institutions because you want to open a bank account, they're asking you what state you're from, what's your state of origin. So it pisses me off when I see things like state of origin on government forms because I don't see the need for it. The more you keep doing these things, you want to give appointments, you check region, you want to apply for a job, state of origin, you want to open a bank account, state of origin, you go to church, state of origin, religion. Like the more you keep doing these things, the more we're going to be having issues around ethnicity and tribalism. So it's just it's depressing and it's sad. I don't know at this point, to be honest.
This man, what's his name? Damian Marley. He said something in Burna Boy's song, different. He said, "We all bleed blood. And that's our similarity. We all bleed blood. That's our similar. There's nobody that bleeds crude oil. There's nobody that bleeds what perfume. Everybody bleeds blood. Nobody. Nobody. Exactly. Nobody does something different. So." And the funniest thing is that once you cut us open, right? What you would see in my body is what you see in the next man's body. So what is our biggest difference? The issue of tribe. The issue of tribe is a tool of oppression. It's a social construct. It's an offspring of greed. Before we confront the government on any other level again, understand where you're coming from. Understand who you are. Understand the basic laws of the land. Understand international politics and how you can effectively deploy it to your own goal.
Now that we've heard that education is the way forward, like we need to educate people more on the battles that we're fighting and all of that, I still have a question. My question is going to go to Laura. Laura, I want to ask, why do you think there is a constant hurdle for the youth in every struggle for political expression?
Basically, I'd say that we are different people, right? And we can never be the same. We are different people. We can never be the same. And people want to express their differences, right? People want to express their differences. People want to be heard. So you hear things like, well, it's my opinion, you're entitled to your own opinion, and nobody cares if your opinion is hurting others and even hurting you. You just want to know that you have an opinion and you should be allowed to express that opinion. And what is your opinion founded on? Like, is your opinion logical? Is your opinion acceptable? Should your opinion be an opinion? Basically, because someone who is someone who wants to vote not based on competence or skills, but the whole tribe and everything, and saying things like he's from my tribe and he should win, or I don't want to be under another tribe, because people do not understand that competence should be one of the pillars of good governance, right? So everybody's just you see people say things like, I don't want to be under this person. We have this notion that if you're ruled by another tribe or someone from another state or something, it just automatically means that you're beneath that person. And so we do not want to be beneath the other tribe. We do not want to be beneath the other person. The Yoruba man does not want to be beneath the Igbo man. The Igbo man does not want to be beneath the Hausa man. And nobody's thinking about, we are supposed to be one, right? We are supposed to be one. And if we are one, we should be able to keep aside or take aside these differences and work towards a common goal. So I'd say it's because we are so different and we do not want to see things based on some other person's perspective.
We asked the question previously. We said, should tribalism be considered a mental disorder, like a psychological disorder? And it was a funny question, but then we had a reason for asking that question, because we knew, like, we could foresee the tensions, amongst our tribes. So, like, thinking about it now and listening to what everybody has said, should tribalism really not be should it not really be considered a psychological disorder? Laura is also about to leave because she only said she was going to give us 1 hour of her time.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I think this should be my first time on a discussion like this, and I'm quite honored to have been able to contribute my 2 cents to everything that has been said. You're very wonderful, very smart, very intelligent people. So I feel like, I believe that we can be better, right? I know strongly that we can be better, but like we said, change doesn't come cheap, and change doesn't come easy, basically. Yeah. So thank you very much. But unfortunately I have to run now. Thank you.
Bye, Laura. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So have a lovely day.
So I wanted to just make a comment about the whole whether tribalism should be a psychological disorder. For me, my answer is yes, because if somebody is ready to kill, if somebody is ready to hurt another person because they belong to another tribe, then I feel like that person should not be among normal people. Yeah, so I feel like the person should be in therapy or something, because at this point where we are, I don't even know if education can eradicate this whole tribalism thing, because there are very educated people that are still very, 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 very tribalist in nature. So to me, I feel like, in fact, there should be like therapy according to your level of tribalism. If you are level 1, probably people can still talk to you or something. But if you have gotten to some certain level, then please go and get therapy and change your whole mindset around the whole situation. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Let me quickly say something. I know we've said things about illiteracy, ignorance. Osama bin Laden went to university. For September 11, 2001, Americans will never forget it. Some of the people who have led a whole lot of powerful and even terrifying massacres were educated people. You look at the policemen that stopped black people in their cars in America. These people underwent trainings. They've been trained. You look at some of the comment sections on Instagram and Twitter. Some of these people are even Nigerians that have jackpot. They are abroad, but you need to you need to read what they are saying, and you're shocked. So the question is education really the problem? I won't say education is the problem. I'll say indoctrination and the danger of a single story. Ask these people. Chooks mentioned a whole lot of things about paranoia, tribalism being a symptom. I agree. Even paranoia itself is still a symptom. I believe that each of these tribal identities have undergone a traumatic past. The Nigerian government or the Nigerian educational system is failing to share and educate everybody. Whenever they mention genocide, everybody keeps mentioning Rwandan genocide. There was a genocide in Nigeria, 1967 to 1970. Why don't we have people learning from that mistake? So we keep saying things like we keep referring when we talk about genocide, I want to talk about the consequences of playing tribal. Nigerians leave the examples from outside. Meanwhile, something happened under our nose in the 60s, where 3 million Igbos were massacred. America is dealing with something called reparations today, asking how they can compensate slave descendants, descendants of slavery. They're trying to give them some compensation and things like that. It is high time that Nigeria starts looking at that path, not just only for reparation for people that were probably murdered in these massacres, but also educating each of these tribal identities. I believe the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Hausa are getting wrong indoctrination from their parents. That's the problem and the danger of a single story. Why should you be scared of an Igbo man? That's the question you should answer. You should answer properly. Why? Why should a Yoruba man why should you be scared of a Yoruba man? Why should you be scared of a Hausa man? If you allow parents indoctrinate kids with these things, it only scars them. So we need to now have what is called a proper narrative, not the one that stereotypes. Because like I said earlier, Chimamanda says one about danger of a single story. When one person tells a story, there is bound to be misunderstanding and stereotyping. Why is a white man scared of the black man? There are stereotypes. The first people that came to Africa wrote their own story, exported it to Europe. That has shaped how people see black men today. So you ask yourself, why are you feeling all this paranoia? Why are you feeling restless when there is a Yoruba man, a Hausa man, an Igbo man close to you? It is indoctrination, basically. That is why education, in fact, that's why education cannot erode that kind of, programming. So we need to now have what is called a reorientation. Let everybody come back and tell their stories properly. Let us know properly what really happened without pitching things. I think that is why we are where we are today, because the tribal narratives we are getting is making one person evil and one person good. Let us come objectively and share our story so that we can heal properly, so that you can understand where this person is coming from. How many people know that the Igbos were given £20 after the Civil War? Some people call it Civil War, but basically 3 million people died in that war. Why are they being defensive? Why are they more dispersed than other tribes? Why are they learning to be more commercial? Is that a survival technique? Is that like a coping mechanism? Why are they scared? What stories have history sold to other identities to feel, to be scared of Igbos? Why? So these are the kind of questions we need to start asking for proper healing. Else, if you think illiteracy or education will be the problem, we have a long ride to go actually.
Greed is the reason, because greed is the reason behind politics. Greed is the reason behind business, because politics is behind most businesses, especially big businesses, because politics or governance is a business, especially in this part of the world. In every part of the world, capitalism is a big thing. Like most governments are there to promote capitalism in capitalist states, which Nigeria is, and most democratic states are capitalist states. So yeah, so greed is a driving factor. That's why people will deny their parents, deny their religion, deny their tribe, deny everything, because greed is a very powerful tool, and that's what people, the old guard still use. They've weaponized poverty so much that if you offer somebody little amount of money, they are willing to take ballot boxes and run with it. They're willing to like slash someone's neck. They're willing to do anything because of money. So greed is the reason behind why when youths try to have a show of interest in politics, the old guard quickly comes to play. Like, what? You want to see? It's like you're trying to secure their bag. I mean, I don't want to mention any names, but part of the reasons why like the shootout happened October 2020 was because we were blocking a major source of revenue generation. So, yeah.
Francis was literally already going to the solutions, because before asking solutions, I wanted to know what are the problems, what we think are the problems. He mentioned a whole lot. He mentioned things about asking the right questions. Let's get to find out the things that some of us do not know, so that we can know that, okay, we're heading to somewhere. And because it's one thing to say we pray for a better Nigeria and then we're not taking actions towards it. Dami and Jerry, if you have anything to say before we call it a day, what would you recommend for the youths?
So, what I would recommend as way forward would be for us to promote a sense of humanity as opposed to sense of tribalism. So, because it's just so funny that the same people who light fires and add fuel to tribal wars and tribal narrative, when they're sick or in need of medical treatment, they don't ask the doctor, what tribe are you from? Like Chooks rightly said, on the operating table, when you look at cadavers, it's the same thing. You just see male species, female species. You don't see Igbo liver, Yoruba kidney. Like, nobody sees all these things. There's a video that I wouldn't say it went viral, hello, but there's a video that I saw on Instagram on a reel, and it was funny because it was reality of life. When the lady went to the filling station and then they showed her the price of fuel was 240 naira, she was like, "Please, where do you ever queue for fuel?" It was so hilarious, but that is the reality, in the sense that bad governance affects everybody. Poverty doesn't know skin color or race. Sicknesses don't know these things. Death doesn't know these things. The solution would be to promote a sense of humanity more, to know that, oh, we're all human first before we're whatever else we are. So that's just my what I would say.
What he said is totally right. But most importantly, right, the biggest problem we have in Africa is that we go out on something and we don't learn, right? And the reason why I think we should learn from every single thing, positive, negative, mediocre, anything, we should learn from it. This election has come. EndSars came and went. We should learn, evolve, and transcend. Once we're able to do these things, we'll be all right, we'll be fine. The good thing is that we're on the right path, right? But we also, as much as we're demanding more from the government, we should also demand more from ourselves personally, because that will help us a lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Troops. Dami, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I don't know, you guys have said everything though, but the NSAS, I believe that the NSAS spirit is still very much with us. It's still very much alive in the hearts of youth. People are just intimidated, some are scared, fear, of the unknown, of death. But I can say that one of the if you talk about like the revolutions and things that have happened in the past in other countries and in Nigeria, this is the way it starts. There's always this desire for change. That is what brings about the actual change that people want. So for me, I would say let's continue to hold our hands together. Let's continue to fight as much as we can. Let's not be discouraged. Let's still do what is still needed of us. I think we should also make it a point of contact to actually educate people, because all the other speakers have said it, that you can go to school, you can have master's, PhD, but you are still not intellectually there, right? So let's just continue to. People called us the social media generation, so let's use the social media to continue to preach peace and positivity. Yeah, so that's what I have. Thank you.
Yeah, we will be more united. Let's just know that there will always be challenges, there will always be hurdles. Whether there's a new NSAS protest that comes, there will. That is why it's important for us to go and heal. But not just heal by saying you're educated, by your whatever. Whatever is making you not like that tribe, go and understand the root cause so you can fully heal. You can understand why they are feeling. On Facebook, I have a friend who told a very terrible story about why he doesn't like a particular tribe because of what the tribe's person did to his father. and you can see how the guy went all over Facebook and was shouting it out loud. That's somebody who has been hurt, and that's PTSD. That's post-traumatic stress disorder or something like that, right? So you see that person will keep telling his children about how he doesn't like that tribe. That is how we shape narratives. That is why it's important that we heal. So that when there's a new EndSars, when somebody drops more okra of your Igbo Yoruba, I will stand firm and say, hey, this is not enough to shake us. We're trying to drop down fuel price, please. That's not our business. Or religion. No, we're not getting distracted. So yeah, I think we should just get the necessary education that we need to heal ourselves. Then I believe that would actually do a whole lot.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I enjoyed this one. I'm not gonna lie to you. I enjoyed everything that was being said. To our listeners, to those that one way or the other they probably encountered, getting injured or getting hurt, or they may have a loved one that got hurt. Our team and I are sending our condolences to you. We pray for a better Nigeria. We pray for a better future. And yeah, that's basically what we have to say. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe because we have so much more coming your way. And if you've been consistent with us, make sure to like and share this content with members of your circle. All right, thank you very much once again, guys. Do have a lovely day.